Hello and welcome to the Mindful Love podcast. My name is Tabitha MacDonald, and I am so excited to have Michelle Chung on as our guest today. Michelle is an international best-selling author of How to Stop Dating and Be in an Effortless Committed Relationship. She's also the host of the podcast Love, Life, and Energy. And she is a women's love coach, certified life coach, and trained in kinesiology and mind-body medicine. She is an entrepreneur and investor with a background in industrial design, fashion, and manufacturing. I am so excited to have Michelle on the podcast today because I think her knowledge around love and relationships and creating the love that you want is just going to be a fabulous experience for us today. So welcome, Michelle. I'm so grateful that you're here, all the way from Barcelona, by
Fantastic.
the way.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Tabitha. It's like I'm just super excited to be here with you.
Oh, great. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how you change people's lives, because I think this is amazing. Like we need more love coaches out there.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I'm my first love, I guess, was like business and it's very, I'm very much the entrepreneur, but then I also realized there's something that I had done in my life that, really changed my life, and that was to manifest my partner. And I thought, okay, this is something I can actually help women specifically with, especially women who are very career focused, like I am, very driven, very ambitious. And I was starting to see this pattern with myself and with other women out there, of when you're very success focused, that it can be intimidating to men sometimes. And I thought, okay, if I've done it, then I can teach other women how to do it as well.
I
So
love that because I think a lot of women, and especially when I'm working with people, they hold back success because they have this like fear, if I'm too successful, I won't find a man who will
yes.
um who will love me, or that I'll only find a man who wants to use me. And so like I don't know if you've seen that those two patterns, but I see those two patterns a lot with women.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's could be one or the other. And it I think it's a big misconception that women feel like, because now we have the ability to earn our own money, we don't need men to be our providers, so to speak, in our relationship. Um, you know, we don't need them for those reasons that our mothers in their generation needed men. So we have such a freedom that now it's almost suddenly like, okay, what do I do with all this freedom? And yes, I can be successful, and I want to focus on developing myself and my career and reaching my greatest potential. However, it has sometimes had the side effect of backfiring, like what we mentioned, that it can be intimidating to men. And I suppose that's something, to work on within each woman. How much of her masculine side is overtaking, and, that success that we feel in our business and careers, that masculine energy, it doesn't translate well to relationships and love in
Oh,
that
I love
heterosexual.
that you said that
Right.
because that is something that I often talk to women about. It's like it's okay to be soft and gentle and in your feminine in your relationship, but if you show up in your masculine on a date, you're going
Yes,
to attract someone who's in their feminine. Like,
that
and
was my life.
really, yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
amazing because I do think that they want that place at home to be in their feminine, to be supported and to be um almost to surrender a little bit of that
yes,
control. So tell
yes.
me more about that. I love this.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's come into this point where this feminist um, viewpoint has kind of overtaken the feminine way of being open and nurturing and soft and surrender, what you just said, and being vulnerable, authentic, all these things that actually men are seeking in their ideal partner, that women don't realize that's actually what men are looking for. I actually had one call with a student, and she's like, "I've got to be this high value woman so I can attract this high value man." I was like, "Well, what exactly do you think is a high value woman?" And she said, "Oh, she has a really nice house. She's really rich. She wears nice clothes and she's, sophisticated and she has a life together. I said, there's only one of those things that's actually true. And that's that you have your stuff together.
Yeah.
But men don't care if you're rich or wealthy. Only, I suppose, those particular types of men who do care if you're rich or wealthy, and what you just said, that they'll use you. But we do have to, recognize that part of what attracts men is being in our feminine energy, is to let go, is to surrender. And that's such a, it's so pivotal to understand this masculine feminine balance. It's a universal law as well, the
Yes.
law of gender, the law of polarity. We it's very evident, scientifically, biologically. And I think women have become too much in our masculine because we're overcorrecting from
Yeah.
feminist movement, and we really do need to let go of control if we're to have the love that we want in our lives.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I work with men who are, with women who either are very controlling and then they lose their masculine and then the
Yes.
woman gets angry that they're not in their masculine and they don't even realize they've taken it from them in many areas.
Yes.
Or vice versa, men who finally get the woman in their feminine, and then the woman is so afraid that they're not doing their part, and the guy's like, no, this is what I wanted someone to be nurturing and to just love me where I could like
Yes.
fall into your arms at the end of the day. And finding that balance between the two is I think you're right, from the feminist movement, and also like as a single mom, when I'm working with single moms, it's like we've had to be both for so long.
Yes.
It's hard to know when to surrender that like masculine energy and to fall into someone who can take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. From a single mom point of view, you've kind of had to do both roles out of necessity.
Hmm.
And it's also understanding, when to start to come back into your femininity so you can achieve the result you want, which is, to meet your soulmate, to manifest him, to have the right man into your life, especially if you want someone who is comfortable in his masculine. He's not going to want another masculine in the relationship. I mean, unless now we're talking about different types of sexual preferences, aren't we?
Right.
But a heterosexual relationship is
Well, I will
balanced in
say,
that
I
way.
think we're just talking about energy, not even like man and woman,
Mm,
like, because this could also be true in a same-sex couple, right? So it's
yes,
more of the energy that you present. And so if you're in your masculine,
absolutely.
and you're going to attract a very feminine energy in
Yes,
any body. Like it doesn't matter if it's male or female and you're, same sex or opposite genders. You know, it's the energy
you're
that
right.
you're attracting, I think. So I think
Absolutely.
it's pretty universal.
Absolutely. And it's the relationships that I had, I had great relationships. Like it was only in my mid 30s that I got divorced. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to learn how to date because I've never dated. Like throughout high school, I was so nervous and shy and timid, and in my 20s, and then I finally had long-term relationships, and then I got married. And then mid 30s, I was like, how do you do this dating thing? This is strange. But what I did realize that, looking back and appreciating my experiences, that I was attracting more feminine energies, um, guys in my relationships, and I was like, why is that? And I made that connection that I was being too much in my masculine. I
Mhm.
was not giving space where he could grow into his masculine, and I was sick of having to be the one to organize everything, to take the lead on stuff. And it was like, oh my gosh, I do this in my business and my career already. I don't want to come home and have to do all that stuff as well. And he was craving that. He wanted to do that and take charge of that relationship, but I was not giving the space.
I love that because that's huge, that self-reflection and being able to see your role in it. And I think that is massive in relationships, right? When we can take a look at our own role in it and then really
Yeah.
anchor in on what we want and admit that it's okay to want to be taken care of at home, to have that, to be able to be vulnerable with someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I ask my partner Raf and I say, what is it that men want? And he says, on a very basic level, he says, and I'm not sure if this applies for all men and all relationships, he says that he just basically wants his woman to be happy. He just wants his partner to be happy. And I was like, is it really that simple? Like, and I posted this on LinkedIn and I was getting feedback. And these days what women want, the list is like 1,000 bullet points long, isn't it?
Huge.
But
It's huge. And it's not what they really want. It's what they think they want. What they really want
right,
is to be loved and for
exactly.
themselves. And the man really wants his partner to be happy. And I
Yeah.
do work with people a lot where they set their partner up for failure and they don't even know that
Mm,
they're doing it. And it's that constant list of this could be better. And then
yes.
they never feel like they're being successful at making their partner happy. And essentially that is what a man wants, is to make his partner happy.
It's a really interesting concept and dynamic. It's something that I noticed when I was reading Think and Grow Rich. It's a business and entrepreneur book. It's very famous, by Napoleon Hill. One of the chapters is about the mystery of sex transmutation. And what that actually means is once you've overcome the survival level of life where you covered, you have enough food, you have shelter, you have your basic survival things, what happens is that sexual love becomes a more pure energy. It becomes a much more driving force. And for men, that becomes them channeling their virility or their sexual energy into their projects, into their business. And that helps them reach their potential. And in essence, that's what I see as the masculine feminine roles in a relationship, is that, women help the men reach their full potential. So we're constantly seeing what we call a gap and a gain. So also reading this other book by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy about when we constantly see what's in the future, what's the potential, and where we are now, and thinking, okay, we're not quite there yet, but it's like a horizon line. We can never achieve that ideal. It's just meant to be a marker or a goalpost, but we can never reach that ideal. So, in terms of relationships with men and women see the potential for our men in their life, in the men in our lives, and I guess that's our role. Like that they say, women want the man for who he can become, and men want the woman who they met on the first day. And we try to
I
change them
love
too much.
that.
And there's this huge gap that we always see, and we always
Uh,
constantly nag them about, you could have done this, when we really need to stay in our own, not territory, but we need to stay within our zone of
yeah.
nurturing, our, supportiveness, and not be pointing out, you could have done this better, not seeing that gap all the time. We need
I
to stay
think
within
that is
all
so
the great things.
devastating to a relationship when like you can see what someone's capable of. And this is at any relationship with
Mm,
your kids, with your partner, with your friendships, and you try to hold someone to an ideal that you have for them
yes,
that they don't know how to get to yet. Like it's
impossible.
yeah, it's impossible. And I just think that's really hard on a relationship when we don't see people for who they are.
I mean, this is me. This is all my learning, isn't it? Being a 3 Enneagram, as we discussed before, I'm all about, reaching potential and ambition and success focus. And it's been a huge learning for myself also to, not live in that gap area, but also to really appreciate my partner and the people in my life, for who they are, and exactly what you said.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think that, like, especially as entrepreneurs, all we can see is what's possible, right? Like, that's how our
Right.
vision is like, I see possibility everywhere.
Yep.
And we have to know when to dial that back and be in the
Mhm.
present moment with someone. And
Yep.
I think that is the most beautiful gift we can give to someone that we care about, is to be with them who
Absolutely.
they are and exactly as they are.
Absolutely. Exactly as they are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's really what we all want as human beings, male, female, doesn't matter. Like we just want to be seen for who we are and loved for that.
Absolutely.
And then also,
Absolutely.
enjoy the experience of growth with someone because that's what relationships are for, right? Is to help us grow and evolve as human beings and to respect that relationship for the gift of growth. And, having someone reflect back to you who they see,
Absolutely.
not your limiting beliefs about yourself, but who they see.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's the difference between a soulmate relationship and just a relationship. So this is something new that I've started to witness, that if you come from a place of I have to have this relationship because it will make me feel better, it will fulfill me, that person can fix me, I can fix that person. That's not coming from a self-fulfilled, interdependent place, what Stephen Covey calls an interdependent relationship. And that's also what I, talk about in my program and in my content. It doesn't come from that self-fulfilled place. And if you come from a place of I want that relationship because it will help me grow, it will, be a bunch of great experiences that I can share with someone, that's coming from a completely different energy and a completely different place than I have to have that relationship. No, you don't have to have any relationship. But do you want to be in your soulmate relationship? It's a completely different way, isn't it?
Oh, it's 100% a different way. I mean, and I love that you brought that up because I think there's a lot of misconceptions too about what a soulmate relationship is. I don't know if you saw like the Twin Flames universe documentary on Netflix, but
Oh,
it was like it inspired me to start this podcast because I was like,
oh
people have to
wow.
know there's a different way. Like, and you need to know when is it a soulmate and when is it your attachment wound? Because sometimes we'll
Mm,
meet someone and we're like, oh, this is the person, like butterflies, like that, like I'll die without them. And people will often think it's their soulmate, and really it's their attachment
mm.
wound warning them, like this is
Oh,
not
that's so
good.
good.
So,
That's so good.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
understanding of what a true soulmate is, like, and that we have many, and we don't need to anchor on one person being like,
Multiple.
oh, that's
Yes.
my soulmate, I'll die if we're not together. That's
Yes.
attachment wound. That's not soulmate love. That's attachment
No,
wound. But
you're so
soulmate
right.
love is different.
You're so right. Yes, I have one client who, thought she had a perfect relationship and she told all her friends and now she's embarrassed because they've broken up, and it's exactly what you've just said. It's the soulmate wound coming up in a relationship to show you that there is still yet something else to work on, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, and that is like when you have that like I'm gonna die without this person, it's
Mm,
that's an attachment wound.
yeah,
That's not
that's
soulmate
not
love.
healthy.
Mm-mm. And people
Yeah.
get so anchored and they are misguided a lot, especially in our like coaching industry. They're misguided to be like, no, that's your soulmate. Don't give up on them. And it's like, no,
Mm.
that's marketing. That's not true. Like,
Marketing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you've got to understand that maybe you do have soul connection or love with this person, but they're still
Yeah.
human and you have to be
Yeah.
with their humanness and,
Yeah.
hopefully those two things aligned. But if they're hurting you, that's not soul love.
No. I think, well, what I recognize now as a soulmate relationship with my partner, Raf, it was just what you coach about as well is it's intuitive. It's just a knowing. It's just a very much like, yeah, this is the way it's meant to be. There's none of that. Will he call me? Is he going to text me? I don't know. I have to discuss with my girlfriends 1,000 different things of why he didn't do this and why he. That is not the soulmate relationship. The soulmate relationship is based on that inner knowing, and it's just effortless and easy. And I believe, like you also mentioned, we have multiple soulmates. We don't need to get hung up on the idea of like, oh, it's just the one. That's scarcity mentality, isn't it?
So much so. And that's just like total scarcity, just like you said, which is awesome. And also like how much pressure is that to put on one human being? Like,
Right.
I mean,
A
nobody can live up
lot.
to that. Like, of all the billions of
No.
people on the planet, there's just this one. Like, it would
Oh
be
my goodness.
horrible for
It
us
would
to
be.
have to move through the
Yeah,
world like that.
I know. It doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it's not
To think
logically
like
when
that.
you say it like that. I mean, I think it's a romanticized thing that we all want to believe, right? That there's this one
Mm,
soulmate out there who's going to get us on that like twin flame level. But I mean, the reality, that the cruelty of that would just be horrible if that was true,
Yeah,
right? Like that would be,
yeah, it's uh, yeah, you're right. And I mean, it doesn't make sense with like the billions of people out there. I mean, we don't have just one idea for our life. We don't have just one career. We don't have just one friend, do we? Why
mm-mm.
can't we have multiple, soulmates that teach us something at different stages of our life? And um, that is a lot more comforting anyway, isn't it?
Isn't it? Doesn't that feel better? We get to choose what we believe. I'm going to choose that one because
Yeah,
there's just one soulmate out
absolutely.
there.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love this conversation. Okay, so I did want to ask you about maybe like a heartbreak that you've
Oh,
experienced,
yeah.
because I know a lot of my listeners have heartbreak that they're working through. And maybe like, something like an inspiring story about how you overcame heartbreak and what you got, how you got through it and how things are, because you're in a really loving, healthy relationship that's stable. And I know that's what people want, right? That's really what people
Mm,
want. And so
yeah.
how did you get there from point A, B, C, D all the way to here?
It's a great question. There's so many experiences I could pull from, I guess, but I think the one that would be most relevant would be breaking up with my ex-husband. And it was actually because I'd had lower back pain, which I know you're a body worker as well. And it really woke me up. It was a huge wake up call. I literally couldn't walk for a year because I had sciatic pain, and I went to multiple chiropractors, massage, osteo, everything, and I ended up studying kinesiology so I could heal myself. And through that process, I guess I kind of woke up to the idea and that I was not living my life on purpose. And that's why my body was telling me so. I was literally stopped in my tracks, couldn't walk. Was in a wheelchair on a cruise. It was devastating and embarrassing for me and all that stuff. And basically, from that, I had a kinesiology session with my classmate, and I was starting to get very in tune with my intuition, with my guides, my connection with universe and higher power. And it gave me some insights and it said, I'm not meant to be in this relationship anymore. And I got up from there and I immediately said to my husband, I don't think we're meant to be together. I don't see our future aligned. And this is also what I teach a lot with my audience is that we never looked for our partner based on core values. We actually met through martial arts. I trained martial arts and was very addicted to it, my masculine energy. And we had a common hobby. And so we got along very well. And this is the way a lot of people meet their partners through the common hobbies at
Yep.
the workplace. Yet you don't sit down and think, what are my core values? What is my priorities in life? And I want to find a partner who has the similar priorities. We never think that way. We're never taught to think this way. So this is one of the things now that I teach. And so when I got up from, out of that relationship, and he took it well, and then we separated. And having to date again in my 30s was like, oh, this is really weird. And I was on dating apps, and for 5 years, I was enjoying it in the first few years, but then after year 3, year 4, year 5, it's like, this is crazy. I've never been single this long. I've always been having these long-term relationships. I've done it once before. I can do it again. So I guess the turnaround from that was recognizing that I had resistance. So I was listening to a business podcast, and the mentor was saying, if you're not getting what you want in life and you're going around in circles, you have resistance. And this is something you've mentioned yourself, Tabitha, but um, clients who have resistance won't be able to break through their body pains because it's not a body issue, it's an internal issue.
Mhm.
And the body is the physical manifests, and it's the last thing that you see. So if you're not focused on the internal, your body is the last line of defense, and then it will tell you and literally stop you in your tracks like it did for me. And from that, I started to, I got my own life coach. Then I certified as a coach myself, and I started, started my own business, and doing all this internal work um, led me to manifest my partner Raf. And it was a process, and I was like, this is actually something that is doable for anyone, and it's not this mystical, you know, randomness. There is no coincidences, as we all know. Things happen for a reason. So why can't you, redirect the energy in an effective and efficient way? This is probably my Enneagram 3.
I'm like, I love your threeness.
Right.
I'm like, how do I make this effective and successful?
Right. Because I don't want to, and we want to have kids, and I'm in at the time I was in my mid 30s and late 30s, and I was like, okay, I have a time pressure,
Yeah.
men don't have this, but I have this. So
Right?
I had to
And
sort it
it's
out.
real.
And that's, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that you talked about values, because when I'm working with relationship clients too, I'm always like, you have to make sure your values are aligned. And they're like, what are those? And I'm like, oh, we got to start there. And they're like, but I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to limit myself. And I'm like, oh, but if you don't know
That's
what
a
you
belief.
value, yeah, you're going to align yourself with someone who's not going to be a good match for you. And that's also scarcity, right? So like, oh,
Yeah,
that I
absolutely.
want isn't out there. Yeah, I think knowing your values is like step number one. Like that's the one that's non-negotiable.
Exactly. And that helps you niche down your
Right?
partner. I align a lot of things about relationships with business because I see it as so aligned. I mean, business is about relationships and people, and you know, love relationships. It's about people too, and knowing who you are in order to attract and market yourself to the right person. If you're finding that you're constantly getting the wrong kind of men, it's probably because you're using the wrong filters to market yourself. You know, your sales page is all out of whack.
Your
So,
sales page has the wrong messaging. Look at
correct.
any online dating thing, right? It's like
Correct.
I've heard horror stories of how they messaged themselves and then they showed up differently.
Yep.
I don't even do online dating anymore. I mean, I'm
Yep.
currently single, but I'm like I don't even go there because it's all
Yep.
messaging.
It's a mess. It's a
Yeah.
mess. If you don't know, well, firstly, the messaging, but if you don't even know who you are, in
Uh-huh.
order to create that authentic message, guess what happens? You get what you ask for.
Totally. And you get
Mm,
your old wounding or your old belief structure, because
yes,
not making a choice is a choice. Like you're still making
exact. I
a
love
choice.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that's such great advice. I love tackling it like a business. I love that you're a three, that you look at
Well,
the
it
world the same way I do. So, like,
yes. Well, I guess it takes out all that needless emotion, and I'm saying needless because it's redundant energy if it's making you ruminate in past experiences, what we call trauma, right?
mhm.
It's needless because it's not fruitful, that it productively gets you anywhere. You just stay stuck in the same spot, getting more and more of the same. Whereas if you're, doing things in an effective way, and I'd see business as a tangible way that you can actually see something.
Yeah.
It's process driven. Your relationships can also be like that, and it's not to say there's no romance, there's no love, but I think we have to change our beliefs and viewpoint on what is romance, what is love, and it's not this fairy tale that we grew up with as young girls.
It is not. And it's also not the way of the modern world. I think like it's a different world. Like it's I don't know, I just hear from a lot of people it's harder to meet people who want to have a relationship and build a life. And maybe that's just a global belief that's taking over, because online dating has kind of left a lot of wounds and disappointment. I mean, I don't know, you work with this too. What do you
Yeah,
think about that?
yeah, absolutely. I think it's a consequence of living a very guarded, inauthentic life that has people put up more barriers and
Mhm.
more detachment and aloofness. And I hear that a lot. Women complaining that it's the men out there, they're the problem. I can't do anything about it. I'm good. I do my work. I do yoga. I do meditation. But this is not, you and I both know this is not, the kind of work that we're talking about. And a lot of the problem, if it's external and you can't control that, then, what can you do? And you can only control what's happening inside. Then that will actually, like a homing beacon, you know, attract that right person to you because they'll see that authenticity that everyone's craving. Everyone's so tired of this aloofness and, this perfect, pretty picture that we project. And this is not real. People can smell this BS from 1,000 miles away. So they're waiting for that authentic woman to show up and say, "Here I am. I know who I am.
Yep.
And if you want me, then you've got to step up to the level that I'm, the vibrational level that I'm at as well."
Yeah. And I do, it's funny because as a 7 on the Enneagram, I always rewrote people's bad behavior on the fly. So I literally couldn't see it because of the way my mind
Mm,
was programmed. And so I wouldn't see red flags. I wouldn't see destructive behavior is a better way of
mm,
saying that. Because I would rewrite it into something positive so quickly. I didn't even know what I was doing. And I was on an Enneagram class one day and I was like, how do I overcome this? Because it is devastating in the dating world when I only see people in their light and I don't see them for who they're being. I don't see that, And he was really great. He said, no, no, no. Now that you're vibrating in that different frequency, like they're not even going to be attracted to you now that you know your values,
yes,
hold boundaries, like, and that is you now. Like they're gonna walk, that people who are emotionally abusive or don't have good intentions, you're not an
you're
easy,
out of the league.
you're not there anymore. So they're gonna just keep walking because you're not like somebody that they're going to want to be with. So
Yes, that is like a beautiful example because you know though the people who need that are independent style relationships and will be attracted to other people, and those people will seem like they're in the same league,
mhm.
and you'll be seen as, oh, she's out of my league. That's what it actually means when someone says she's out of my league. It's not because you're wearing the designer clothes and
Right.
you have that mansion house. It's not about that. It's like they literally cannot feel on the same vibration level as you, because you've let go of all those lower, heavier negative frequencies, those lower energies. You
Absolutely.
naturally rise up. And that vibration level, people aren't so familiar with it, but it's there. And we're starting to understand a bit more about it. But that's that frequency level that attracts someone else with the same frequency level. And that's where you'll have your interdependent soulmate relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not coming down and settling for less. Like I think a lot
No,
of us have succumbs to because we have that scarcity mentality. Like, oh, all the good ones are taken. I mean, I'm 48, so like
yeah,
I know women in my age group are like, oh, all the good ones are married, or I'm just gonna give up, or but it's like there's a lot of people out there who are shifting, especially now.
yes,
And they're going to be looking for people who vibrate at the same level and that conscious awareness, right? That's kind of happening
yeah,
global scale. And the
yeah. And
beliefs are just going to have to take a back seat so the universe can help bring you together and, you know, you can
exactly.
manifest it.
Exactly. And it's why I didn't meet Raf in the 5 years that I was single. It was only on the fifth year. And I was like, why didn't we meet sooner? I've been single that long and I've been waiting. And it was because he was married only until like about a year, 2 years before, a year or 2 years before we'd met. And he was reestablishing, coming to Spain. We met here in Barcelona. And I really believe me coming to Barcelona was the reason why, was to meet him and to meet each other. And I'm like, I don't have any connection to this place. I don't know anyone. I didn't even speak Spanish. And I was like, I felt this intuitive pull that I had to go to Barcelona. And I was like, what am I doing here? So I studied art school my first year. I started my business. And I'm like, but what am I really doing here? And then when, he came into my life, it was like, oh, that's why. Okay, get it now. Thanks,
I
thanks,
love
universe.
that. That
Yeah.
is synchronicities, right? That is following your intuition. And I love those stories because I think there's a lot of them out there where I've heard from people who met like a really good match and they're like, I don't know why I was there. I just felt this pull. And I do
Yeah.
feel like we have soul contracts, not to say, we
Yes.
do have them. And when both humans are ready, they are kind of like magnetically drawn to each other.
Yes.
Love
Yes,
that.
exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Oh, I could talk
Thank
about this
you.
all day with you, but I want to like make sure I
I
respect
know.
our time with each other, and we'll have to do
No
another
worries.
episode just on
Definitely.
other stuff. But this has just been amazing. I would love for you to tell everyone I have one question I love to ask everyone, and that is if you were on a deserted island alone, what book would you bring with you and why?
Oh man. Oh wow. I love reading books. I have so many. I think oh, it would be really tricky. I really loved studying As a Man Thinketh by James Allen
Okay.
because it was such a deep book. Every sentence it felt like you could pull apart a gem, that you could ruminate and you could like really um go deep with everything in that book. And there were so many life lessons in there. So I think it would be that one. Oh,
Good.
there are
You
so
you
many.
only get one, so that's the one that you're unconscious is saying should be revealed today. I love it.
There
That's
you go.
amazing. Yeah, I haven't read that one, but I'll check it out. I'm collecting book suggestions. Oh, and
It's
so
worth it.
how do people find you? And I'll post your links in the show notes when I post this up on YouTube and on my podcast. But yeah, how do people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. You can get in contact with me on Instagram. It's at Michelle Chung Coach, and also running a free training on how to meet your soulmate in 3 steps. So I'll send you the link of that one as well, and watch my training for free. You'll see, like I shared about one of the misconceptions, matching and core values. I'm going to teach you some more stuff on that. So that can absolutely change your dating strategy from day one. So you can effectively, this is the Enneagram 3, reduce the amount of time and dates that you have to have going kissing a lot of frogs
I
so you
love
can meet your
it.
soulmate.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much for your time today. I will post all your contacts in the show notes so people can find you. And I just want to thank you for taking the time today. This has been amazing and awesome. And I just love your energy and I love what you bring to the world. I just think it's going to really help people connect with love again. And that's what we all need right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tabitha. Thank you.
Thank you.